Happy New Year, everyone, from the Latowski team. Tonight we got for you a special video, a top 5 videos, 2 of them, best and worst of the year. We actually saw enough movies throughout the year to make a coherent top 5 list.
Yep.
So that's pretty impressive. We're going to start with the best list. It's only fitting because of what a shit year this was for the world.
Perceptively shit year. There
And-
are good moments of every year. It's not always fully terrible.
And what a shit year it was for me personally. I don't know about you.
I actually did not have the best 2016. There were good parts, but as a whole, it was just eh.
And more importantly, what a shit year, what a shit night it's been for us both.
And luckily, New Year's Eve does, even though a lot of Hollywood and everyone else is trying to pad it out to shit, because honestly, New Year's Eve, it's just a changing of time, but changing of time is a universal theme within people, and one of the things about changing time is to vent about previous grievances. So, yeah, this is healthy for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's...
So allow us to start off by not venting about grievances. Fuck talking, you know what?
But hey, nobody's
many times.
perfect. We're not perfect, and this year wasn't perfect, and we're sure as shit going to talk about it later.
Yeah.
One quick disclaimer: we did not see every movie this year, and who can?
So here's a quick list of the movies that we didn't see.
Mine, his, and we did get enough. We did see enough this year, but really, we couldn't see everything, and even if we did,
We're not paid to do this, may I remind you.
we are both very busy people.
Yeah. This is not our job.
But then again, the more repetition that we have of doing these, luckily it becomes more fun each time.
We're going to talk about the movies we liked this year. So, why don't you start us off, Tom?
Well, starting off my top 5 list, and yeah, we're just going to be going back and forth because we've had these prepped for a long time. But starting out, my best at number 5 is Arrival, one of the actual better movies that we saw this year, and we actually saw it together, and that's actually our most recent vlog review. It's the only movie on my list that's not Oscar bait from this past couple of months, which honestly, that was even a hit and miss. But Arrival, it didn't really hit me right away, but honestly, as we were talking about it later on in the review, I did realize how poignant it is towards society and just towards people in general, just learning a language and getting to actually know and get down to a concrete detail the people that you're dealing with before you go to extreme measures, in this case with aliens. And it is actually, it does play out very, very well. Again, the acting is great, the direction, and well, even though it follows the uneven timeline that Tarantino first started off with, it still does flow well together and gives you a what the fuck ending that actually does make you question a lot of stuff by the end of it. It just wasn't higher on my list because of that initial impact. I do judge movies off of like my first viewing of it, the experience I had with everything that is surprising from start to finish in one straight movie. It didn't hit me right away, but it did hit me in a way, and that's why it's on here.
All right. My number 5 is Hardcore Henry. One of the most awkward movies to find on Amazon because, no joke, it'll actually think you're looking for hardcore porn. That might have changed now because the movie's a little bit more popular.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
But starting off, that was what happened when I tried looking for this movie on Blu-ray. But this is one of the most innovative action movies I've seen in a long time. And you know, it's at first it does not look like the kind of movie that should be that interesting. I mean, it's a whole action movie that takes place from a first person perspective.
POV.
Yeah, it's made by the same people who made the Biting Elbows music video, Badass Motherfucker, or there's just Bad Motherfucker. I don't know. It's on YouTube. You can
Go find it.
You can look it up. It really just nothing about this from the trailer struck me as interesting. But then I saw some of the reviews for it, and they're like, "Oh yeah, it's a lot of fun." This movie really is just the equivalent of a roller coaster. And man, that cat is freaking out over there. It is the movie equivalent of a roller coaster in the best possible way. Not just that it's a cheap thrill, but that it is just so enjoyable that you wanna get on it again the moment it stops.
Sorry, I'm laughing because you said cheap thrill, and the only thing I could think of right now is cheap thrills from Zia. Anyway.
It's obviously got next to nothing in the way of story, even though Henry himself is a very likable character despite having zero dialogue of any kind and only having his hands to express with. This movie's got a lot of memorable moments, though, mostly in the form of this one character who keeps showing up despite him continually dying. But he comes back in like a completely different form and a different costume and different sort of personality. It's pretty hilarious. And the very, very last frame of this movie, like the last thing that ever happens before it just like cuts to black and goes to credits, is one of the best moments in movies of the year. It is just incredible.
Okay, that is actually a bold statement. And to give my quip and opinion of said pick, I did not see this, but I did see. Yeah, I'm critic based. He's fan based. I check Rotten Tomatoes all the freaking time. I saw this got mixed reviews and was a 50-50 shot, but the people who actually did like it were very passionate about liking it, and luckily you do fit into that category. I actually did want to see this only because of the unique perspective of an entire POV action movie and having it take place with one direct character and literally showing every single step throughout that. So I am still interested to see it, whether or not I like it when I finish seeing it.
One of the things that impressed me the most about the movie was the fact that it's very watchable in the sense that it's not. You think that having a POV shot, it's going to have a bunch of shaky cam nonsense and it's going to be almost sickening to watch, but it really isn't. It's very, very easy to follow. They took very careful attention when they made this with the GoPro attached to the helmet and everything. But there was one scene that took place in a strip club where the low lighting, cramped corridors and like him like flipping all over the place, that was kind of hard to watch, but that's it. The rest of the movie is very, very exciting. And honestly, if you're one of those action movies fans that think that action movies today have gone really stale, I highly recommend checking this thing out. Even if you're not into that kind of thing, one thing you might want to watch this movie for is that it is a loving tribute to first-person shooters. And that's not even a genre that I'm too interested in, and even I was impressed by how much they just sort of took so many little things from each one and incorporated into this movie. You know, it's a tribute to video games. It's not even a video game, but it's got elements of like Call of Duty, Battlefield, BioShock, Half-Life, Mirror's Edge, and the list goes on. So I very much liked it. Yes, I know I'm going on. Shut up.
Hey, that's fine with me. Okay, continuing, my number 4 pick is Star Wars Rogue One. And this is actually the most recent movie I've seen to date. I saw it with my cousin a couple of weeks ago. We're both big Star Wars fans. And although I'm only recently calling myself that because until I think it was last year when Force Awakens came out, I did not see every single 6 Star Wars movies start to finish. I finally watched A New Hope start to finish, but yeah, now I can call myself a Star Wars fan. But even though, at least I saw the most recent review of it from a certain someone, I still was pulled in 100% from beginning to end, even though I was confused a little bit early on from everything trying to be set up. It was still gripping, and I actually did like the more serious tone of this, and that actually made it appeal to the likes of like Empire Strikes Back, where it's just a complete different outlook from the previous installment, previous being Force Awakens, and I'm actually contemplating about liking this better than Force Awakens because I did like the lead character better. I absolutely love how this universe is so creative and can actually get its own standalone movie to make sense within the chronology. And even though this could be seen as just a throwaway thing, they put a lot of effort into it. They put depth into it too. And I also loved all the side characters in this. Side characters were great. The blind Jedi guy, I loved him and his heavy. They were fun. Yeah, Forrest Whitaker, yeah, he's a bit of a throwaway, but yeah, Felicity Jones, Mads Mikkelsen, and even I think his name is Diego Luna. I actually still really love their performances. And yeah, again, could have been throwaway, but they give everything into it, and the action in this was stellar. Like, the actual climax, yes. I did feel the climax went a little bit long. They could have trimmed down just a little bit of fat, but still went on a while. But I still found it really gripping and great to be back into a creative universe as big as Star Wars. And I usually ask people this if they're into nerd media: Star Wars or Lord of the Rings. Almost always, well, a bigger portion of people say Lord of the Rings.
That's a stupid question. I hope you know that is a stupid question.
Okay, opinions vary, but yeah, I always pick Star Wars. Thank God. And I was like, thank God I saw my Star Wars movie.
Really, what is there to pick? They are two completely different genres.
But one's like the other, but for sci-fi.
This isn't like Coke. This isn't like Coke and Pepsi, okay? You can.
Okay.
All right. Whatever.
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah. My quick thoughts on Rogue One. I saw it too. I say without question, it is better than Force Awakens. Force Awakens was one of the most disappointing movies for me.
Oh yeah, he hated it.
I did. Hate is a strong word.
That is very true.
I'm just gonna say it was one of the most disappointing movies for me from last year. And even though I've got issues with Rogue One, I'd say that I hope this kind of ambition, and I hope this kind of level of giving a shit carries over into the main series, because this is more what I was hoping Force Awakens would be like. Not necessarily in tone, but more so just in the fact of propelling the series forward rather than
reenacting it.
Yeah, falling back on old traits. Like, hey, New Hope was a really good movie. Let's just do that again. To be fair, what a lot of people don't realize is that the climax of Rogue One was almost taken shot for shot from A New Hope.
Really?
Yeah. In some parts, but other than that, yeah, I liked it too. If this was a top 10 list, it probably would have been on there.
Okay.
Well, my number 4 was Zootopia. It has been far, far too long since I have been impressed by a Disney movie. Or I should say a Disney animated movie. Frozen and Wreck-It Ralph, I hesitate to say, were bad movies, but they really never reached their full potential with me. Whereas Zootopia actually did reach its full potential and then some. What I love most about this movie is that it takes an age-old concept of anthropomorphic animals in an urban setting or a human setting, jungle animals in not so jungle situations, that kind of thing. But it actually takes it in a way that's clever and creative. Like one of the things I hate when I watch anthropomorphic animals is that they're stuck in a human society. Like you have elephants and giraffes trying to squeeze their way into a car made for people. Like that doesn't make any sense. How would they even drive it? In this world, everything was built from the ground up to compensate for the different animals, the different environments, their sizes, their anatomies, the way it just works so well, and you can tell that a lot of time and effort was put into it, and that is something that I really do appreciate, and that's something that I think adults are going to appreciate more than kids, which tells me a lot that Disney's maturing a lot more past this sort of this day and age where, well, we don't care about the adults, we just care about making kids laugh, and that extends to even the characters, the comedy, the writing, the story, the morals. Everything about this movie, to me, it shows Disney maturing past their old habits, and I love it. You know, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. I thought the characters were wonderful. The fox and the hare played off each other perfectly. They were surprisingly well developed. The way it ties into modern day times with like police brutality and racism and stereotypes and all that stuff, oh, it's just so good.
Yeah, and I still need to see this movie, mostly just because, yeah, I consider myself a big Disney fan, and yeah, when we saw the trailer right away, did not think it was going to be
one
that
of the
good.
most condescending trailers I have ever seen in my life.
But yeah, everybody loves it, and yeah, it does look innocent enough. But I don't. I probably will like it, but I don't know. Well, you and everyone else seems to be bigging it up as big as possible.
I don't want to overhype it too much. Okay, I really don't, because I mean, for me, all I saw was that, oh, it's a good movie, check it out. That's what I did, and I liked it.
Okay.
Well done, Disney.
All right.
Can I just say one last thing about the movie?
Yeah.
I just have to get this off. The worst part of the movie, the one part I think is like honestly kind of stupid, was the Gazelle song. Now, Gazelle is a pop artist in this world that's supposed to be a playoff of Katy Perry or Lady Gaga, whichever one you prefer. She has this song that's like the main theme of the movie called Try Everything, and it's one of those really coincidentally perfectly aligns with the main character's story songs, to the point where this movie could have turned into a court drama where she sued Gazelle for using her likeness without her permission.
Okay. Well,
Other than that, yeah, great movie.
that sounds funny, actually. Speaking of funny, my number 3 pick is Deadpool. Yes. One of the it is a cheesy comic book movie, but then again, it's an awesome cheesy comic book movie. Mostly, and our initial review of it, I did say it was straightforward, but another thing that I judge movies by is their rewatchability. I watched this for a second time. It wasn't even too long after I initially saw it, and I liked it even better because I still felt the humor withstood the brief test of time, and it's still funny when I watch it today because of the pacing of it. And I actually do like the timing and the quipping of it, and Ryan Reynolds finally found his perfect role. I still think he's a great comedic actor in this. His persona, his mojo, just everything about him fits this character perfectly. He is this character, and I love seeing this character throughout all the adventures, misadventures that happen in this brief amount of time, really. And I still laugh and am amazed by brutality not becoming too sickening. That was my problem with 2010's Kick-Ass, was that the brutality of that and the dark tone I felt didn't match, and the comedy fell flat, leading to an unpleasant experience. This still knew how to balance out its dark tone and brutality with its campy humor. So that's why I still love it, and I actually I wanted to get this on DVD for Christmas, but no one would get it for me. But luckily from the next paycheck I'm buying this as soon as possible.
Oh, that reminds me, I got something to give you when we get done with this.
Okay.
I guess my thoughts on Deadpool. I didn't love it, but I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. It's similar feelings I had to the first few X-Men movies, or I guess the very first X-Men movie, where it was a really good proof of concept. Like, you got all the right actors in the right places and you got the right people, but you didn't quite do enough with it. Like, Ryan Reynolds, yeah, he was born to play Deadpool. You got the costume down, you got the humor down and everything, but the plot was just too mundane for me. Like, it just felt too bland as far as not even just as far as Deadpool type stories go, just as far as comic book movies go. And that ending,
Predictable.
yeah, and that ending was almost made I rolled my eyes so hard at it because that's not Deadpool. Deadpool doesn't get storybook happy endings, okay? In fact, honestly, he's kind of a loser among the Marvel universe. He saved the universe once and he didn't even get credit for it. Do you know who got credit for it?
Who?
Norman Osborn.
Oh boy. Oh god.
So,
yeah.
but other than that, yeah, I can only hope that they make a really good sequel out of it.
And by golly, they probably will.
Yeah. So my number 3 is Arrival. We already went over majority of it. When I first heard about this movie, they described it as an alien invasion movie for adults, which kind of sounded pretentious, but also kind of sounded amazing.
No, I thought it sounded intriguing. Just like, okay, that's an interesting point. Let's see where they can go from it.
Yeah. What you get is one of the true hardened sci-fi movies in a long time. And it's backed up by some incredible performances, like Amy Adams hits it out of the park. Backed up with Jeremy Renner, my boy, did a fantastic job. And I mean, you know, just great acting across the board. This is really a very I don't want to say mundane movie, but it's a very low-key movie for what it is, you know, for being alien invasion and for what a lot of the trailers were almost misleading and having like helicopters and gunfire and missile shooting, and it, like none of that happens in the movie. It's just it takes place in like a field with a giant black turd in the sky. but it's so intense. The atmosphere is just so thick you could cut it with a knife, and they're just talking to these tentacle monsters and everything. It's just so well done. I love it.
I'm surprised that it wasn't your number 1, but that's actually good for me because then it keeps me on the edge of my seat. Yeah. With knowing what he thought was better than that one. And
my number 1 had a lot of competition. It clawed its way to number 1.
All right. Number 2 is Don't Breathe.
You should stop breathing right now.
Yes, my number 2 favorite movie of the year is Don't Breathe, the horror movie that came out during the summer, and it's our shoutiest video ever.
Oh yeah.
Which oddly enough is one of his favorites. But yeah, I talked a lot about why I really liked it in that video, but just quick, I loved the setup. I'm a big like suspense movie fan. Not like, and I am a fan of like the original Friday the 13th, the original Nightmare on Elm Street. I even like Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
That's a good one. That's a really good one.
But like almost every other horror movie nowadays is just like buckets of blood, limbs flying everywhere, gross shit, which started off with Saw.
Well, let's not forget the really gross shit that happened in this movie.
Oh god, yeah. But it's psychologically based. It's not all just like
do you think
gross stuff.
Do you think she pretended that?
Okay. Shut up. But yeah, I love the psychology-based premise. It's a unique premise. It just puts a twist on a house heist storyline, but I still found it very tense. I thought there's one actor in it that I didn't like and one character, but he's dead instantly, and still found it incredibly gripping. The pacing, the directing, then I still loved the camera work that I can't remember the guy's name, but he also did the most recent Evil Dead, which that actually does, but it looks very well done in a campy sense, of course. But yeah, still was on the edge of my seat. I love the premise. I love the execution, and actually the ending. I had to rethink it after. It actually did make me feel kind of sad. But yeah, fuck you. I still loved it.
You know, the ending made me feel a little bit sad too. I was sad she didn't fucking die. Your number 2 spot, really?
That's how much I liked it.
Wow. Should I be concerned that there's some teenager in you that didn't die, and now you feel the need to stand up for them even when they're taking place in criminal activity?
No.
I still stand by. I hate the fucking movie, okay? Those teenagers are pricks. And this old man is not scary, okay? Honestly, I'm rooting for him.
He was menacing for me almost 100% of the time.
I wanted him to kill everyone in that house. The only part he became irredeemable was... I don't know, did we talk about that in the review?
Yeah, that, the artificial rape scene.
A turkey baster full of semen?
Yep.
You just went on a rant, like, I'm glad there's no gross shit in this movie.
Yeah, but it's still not, like, as gross as just someone being, like, or, like, getting ripped apart or whatever. Because then that's just, like... But yeah, fear can be instilled without, like, jump scares also. That, like, that tension, it is throughout most of the movie, but... Yeah.
And annoyance.
I love, he hate, you mean men.
And annoyance can come from all sources. Whatever. Alright. My number 2 spot is one I actually only saw less than a week ago, and I'm glad I did. It's La La Land.
I did really want to see that so bad.
This is the one, like, no bullshit movie of the year. Like, I saw a trailer for it. It looked good. I read the reviews. They said it was good. I went to see it. It was good. Like, that's the way it should be. So, oh man, where do I start with this movie? I mean, okay, the trailers make it seem like it's just going to be more or less a classic tribute to classic Hollywood. That was really redundant, but basically it's a tribute to musicals as a whole in like a very contemporary setting, starring Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling. And at first, it is the very opening of the movie is a bunch of these people are stuck in a Los Angeles traffic jam, and then this one lady starts singing, and everyone gets out of their cars and they just start dancing in the middle of the highway on top of everyone's car, and I'm like, yes, yes. Oh, it's been so long since I've seen that kind of stuff. That's the charm of musicals, okay? One of the most unintentionally funny things in this movie is the fact that during one of the musical numbers, well, the start of one of the musical numbers, Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling are walking down the street. She sits down and pulls out 2 tap dancing shoes out of her purse. I don't even think she had her cell phone in there, but fuck, I need my tap dancing shoes just in case of a musical number. That's what I love about musicals so much, and you know, this really filled that itch I've been waiting to see for a long time, which is, you know, a really good, solid, no bullshit musical. The plot itself is at first like very simplistic. I mean, it's boy meets girl, but it's like romance done well. Like they clearly talk to each other. There's more than just one guy or girl meeting each other, the other having to pick their tongue up from off the floor, and it being a whole lot of bullshit. And you know, this is for me, this movie is romance done right. It's charming, it's cute, it's, you know, it's somewhat real. It's a lot more realistic than the bullshit rom-coms that you get nowadays. And then that's all the first half of the movie, though. And then the second half kind of takes a turn, not for the better. I mean that in terms of tone. Not like it gets worse. The movie itself gets worse, but just that it does something different. Not what a lot of people expect. And then the ending, I almost hate to say this, but the ending itself kind of has a bit of a holy shit twist to it, similar to Arrival. And you might think, well, how can there really be that much of a twist in a musical about a romance? But there is, and it's going to leave people it's going to leave a lot of people unsatisfied who may not understand what the movie's going for. I mean, this ending made my mom actually not like the movie, and she's very forgiving to movies. Even some of the girls walking out of the theater were like, "Man, that ending was stupid." But me, I just got to tell myself the title, La La Land, and it all makes sense. La la la. So if you're gonna go see the movie, just do keep that in mind. You might not like the ending, or you might get what they're doing, but either way, it's a tribute to musicals, and it's kind of a deconstruction of the classic musical tropes, and otherwise just kind of classic Hollywood tropes as well. Very smart, very well done. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Go see it.
I need to go see it, and I have really wanted to see it because it is from the director of Whiplash, which was honestly 2014's best movie. And like he does have a very good way of direction about him. Did you see Whiplash?
No, I didn't. I want to see it because J.K. Simmons is in it.
Oh my god!
He's only got a small part in this movie, though. Sadly.
No, but he is fucking sadistic in Whiplash. You will loathe the day that you see or know of this character because he will drain you of your joy. But anyway, like, yeah, that's enough of me giving out about Whiplash. But yeah, La La Land, I actually didn't think it would be that great seeing the trailer of it, but yeah, with its praise and it being a musical. I haven't seen one of those in forever, and I was raised on them. Grease forever. But yeah, absolutely need to see it, and have wanted to see it for a while.
Any honorable mentions before the number one?
Honorable mentions, Doctor Strange. It was a really fun movie, but it also felt a bit like a pointless movie. Benedict Cumberbatch actually does make a great hero in that movie, and the effects and the universe and how they actually do make sense the way they explain them. It was a great movie experience, even though me and my cousin sat front row on the right in recliner chairs.
That's what you get for doing those stupid theaters.
Wah wah. Another one is Edge of 17, because even he and I saw this movie against his will because it was my turn to choose, and it was the same weekend as a bunch of big releases. But yeah, this one I actually did enjoy, not necessarily as a whole, but for what it's trying to be, a high school movie, a John Hughes movie in this day and age. And it actually does capture it really well. Like, it does capture the loneliness that a high schooler can have when they're in the prime of their life. They can still feel like this, but also how they do a twist logic, and how the lead character actually does learn from what she's done.
You know what Edge of 17 is? It's fucking Trainwreck if she was a teenager, not an adult.
But she learns.
That's one thing I can give it above Trainwreck. She does actually learn her lesson. But up until that point, holy fuck, is she intolerable. Oh well. I don't have any honorable mentions for me. Like, the movies that I really want to talk about are on my list.
And now we've reached our pinnacle. Our number one picks for the year of 2016, and mine actually does seem like a fitting metaphor because this year's sausage was dangling right in all of America's face. It's Sausage Party. Yes, the Seth Rogen animated comedy from the summer is my number one pick. Fuck all y'all. But yes.
Wow, I did not expect that.
Remember how...
Are you kidding? Of course I expected it. Hello, I'm Tom. I like the color of money and the taste of dick. I'm just kidding. I love the guy.
You don't have to do that. But yes, I did. Remember how I was talking earlier about Arrival, about my initial cinema experience having a big impact on my view of a movie? Yeah, this is a prime example. I did have hopes for this, even though it did look really hokey and stupid from the trailer. I'm a big Seth Rogen fan. And as I explained in the movie, I do like his posse of actual talented comedic actors. And with this being an animated movie, literally everyone's used to their strengths. Even when you know Seth Rogen is just voicing a sausage, the creative script actually does give a lot of detail and a lot of look into how this supermarket world actually does work and how all of the individual food items actually do have personality. How can you not say that's not good writing? I thought the jokes were great. Yeah, everybody talking about the commentary it has. It is obvious, but again, it's oblivious to how obvious it is, and to me that's where a lot of the comedy does come from. But luckily, it doesn't even need to be like smart commentary for it to be a good comedy. It just needs to actually be saying something and actually having a backbone, a story, almost a pretty decent moral actually. And yeah, that was what I loved about this. It was an actually funny movie and an actually creative movie with a backbone, but also wasn't afraid to go lowbrow. And yeah, cinema experience, I was not expecting any of the shit that happened in that movie. The second act, the adventure, and the third act climax and everything that went with it.
Holy shit.
I ate that shit up, and
Not literally. Oh god, you're gonna make me throw up.
yeah, I can't get the Seth Rogen laugh down.
Okay.
No one can. But this did reaffirm my faith that Seth Rogen can actually be a very consistently funny director and storyteller. With this being a way bigger success than the Neighbors movies and a proper follow-up to his 2013 comedy This Is the End. So, yeah, Sausage Party, best of 2016. Suck my sausage.
I liked it a lot more than I thought I would, which was I didn't think I was gonna like it at all.
I honestly thought you were going to
Loathe it.
I thought your viewing of that movie would have been like the experience that we had with Trainwreck. I would have thought it was funny. Like, you were loathing it and you came out hating it, but you.
I mean, there were parts of Sausage Party that I did absolutely loathe. The beginning, in particular, was pretty abysmal. Not the best way to start.
Did you like the musical, like the song that they had in the opening? Didn't you think that was like paying a little bit of homage to Disney songs?
No. Because they immediately shatter it by having all the swearing in it.
But that's what I thought. That's what I thought was funny about it. Like the slight adult things.
Slight. I think it beats you over the head with it. Either way, it's the most I could say is that it surpassed my expectations, which were incredibly low. And that third act, I still stand by, was at least worth watching the whole movie to see.
It made it worth. It made it worth putting on my Christmas list, and thank God I got it on DVD.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, found it funny all the way through, and the initial experience. It was the most fun I had in a movie theater in a very, very long time. So, what is your number one best of 2016?
So my number one, which had to fight tooth and nail to keep its spot, actually, I guess you could say it fought through hell and high water. Holy shit, I love this movie. And when I saw it, I had a very strong feeling it was going to stay my favorite movie of the year. Oh my god. Okay, so the best way I can describe this movie is if you had a script written by Quentin Tarantino that was directed by the Coen brothers.
Coen. I'm just trying to nitpick you, man.
Okay.
I'm nitpicky.
This movie's amazing. It's a story about two amateur bank robbers going on a cross country trip, across Texas. Robin Banks, not quite, they're not very good at it, but at least they they get money out of the cash registers. They freak a few people out. I don't know quite how to describe this movie without spoiling the really, really good things about it. Like, at least in terms of its story, pacing, and overall intensity and atmosphere and action. And, well, that is how you describe it. But really, the best parts of this movie need to be experienced, not explained. So if you haven't seen it, I recommend watching it. Like, I give it my highest recommendation. It's got who are the people in it again?
Ben Foster, Chris Pine, and the dude Jeff Bridges.
Yep. Jeff Bridges plays one of the local cops that are chasing them down, and the one funny thing about this movie was that it was really distracting at first because my dad told me that it took place in the 70s. And then I saw graffiti for George W. Bush, and it's like, that doesn't look right. And then he's like, okay, maybe it takes place in the 90s. Well, then someone pulls out an iPhone 6.
So the decades of time just keep on changing.
Yeah, so it's like, that's weird. I thought it took place. It's like, whatever. But performance-wise, great acting across the board. Really, really strong written dialogue. I said before, it's like this was written by Quentin Tarantino, but it wasn't. So
it was made by the second most iconic writers, the Coen brothers.
Yeah. Well, no, it wasn't either.
Well, I thought
the Coen brothers had nothing to do. I was using that to describe this movie's style.
Okay.
And this movie's tensity, like, because it is very much like No Country for Old Men, but with like a heavier sense of humor to itself.
Yeah, that it does. And chuck another one for honorable mention for me, because honestly I did forget that we saw this, but when I try and think back of when we did see this, I was impressed. I was impressed by the screenplay and the writing and the dialogue is still very gripping. The story is actually still very interesting, and that is the smart commentary that came out of this year in films, for me at least. Like, Sausage Party, yeah, that commentary, but this commentary is a lot more poignant.
Yeah. This was also the first performance from Chris Pines that actually genuinely impressed me.
Yeah, and even I stuck up for Chris Pine a lot after this movie, because I was also trying to convince Chris and his dad, which the three of us saw together, that he was actually a legitimate actor before this movie, even though the only couple of examples I could conjure were him in Star Trek and in Unstoppable, the 2010 action movie with Denzel.
Which were both movies we saw, and even then we still weren't really impressed.
I was really impressed with the first Star Trek, and I liked Unstoppable, but it was too much shaky cam. But Hell or High Water, I would also very much recommend, but recommend to the people who love who love to see a story, who love to see human and real characters,
yeah,
and have them go through real situations.
See, this is what Don't Breathe got wrong, was that it tried to make its criminal characters relatable in a really stupid, piss poor way, like giving her the ladybug tattoo and shit. But I suppose that makes no sense. That made no sense to people who hasn't seen Don't Breathe. But in Hell or High Water, they are criminals, but they're far more engaging, even if they're not necessarily likable per se. They're not the kind of people you're like, oh, what upstanding people. No, they do shitty things. Ben Foster's character in particular,
he's a nutcase.
Yeah, he practically, just what's the word? Just like He gets off at the idea of ripping off people and stuff. Whereas Chris Pines, he's clearly never done this before. You see it on his face in every scene he hates what he's doing. But you find the motivation for why he's doing it and what brings him to do that. And that, for me, is far more interesting than just having stupid teenagers break into someone's house and act like, well, you should feel bad for me because I'm dumb.
That will never rest between us ever again.
Probably not.
How dare us, but it'll be so entertaining when we still talk about that movie 30 years from now.
Yeah.
And
I'll be talking about Hell or High Water 30 years from now. What a fucking good movie.
It was a really good movie. And luckily, with these top 5 lists, and, top 5 best, we are still able to find the amount of good that 2016 did have to offer. And what was good was very solid.
Yeah.
Even though it wasn't amazing or surprising on impact right away that a handful of 2015 movies did, these ones weren't amazing. They were just solid and good. But sometimes that's all you need.
Yep.
Alrighty, stay tuned. Well, you're going to be stay tuned anyways because next up, top 5 worst. We're abiding with a bunch of other critic shows as well as Siskel and Ebert because, well, we thought we'd be funny this year because that's actually more comedic and it does offer for the wet fart of a finish that this year had.
Yep. So, see you then.